All right, everybody, let's take a quick look at what I think could possibly be going on for next week. This is Sunday afternoon here in the great state of Texas, and the futures market actually opens up in just a couple hours. So we're looking at the VIX here. This is the December contracts, and I'm not sure if I'm going to trade the VIX, which if I do trade the VIX would be the VXM, okay, and that would be Z21. Okay, we're looking at the main VIX contract right now, the December contract over here on the upper left. But if I do trade the VIX, it'd be this one, the VXM, which is the E-mini. Okay, so I'm possibly looking at that, but I still might trade the MES instead. So I probably wouldn't trade both just because of the way margin is used. And the reason I might trade the MES still is because the margin's still a little bit better on the MES, and I can pick up another contract or two where this margin's like in the $1,700 range on TD Ameritrade, and this is still in the $1,500 range. So as you can imagine, as you come up with more multiples of contracts, that $200 or $250 or whatever it is starts to really add up, right? You can pick up another contract or two depending on how many contracts you trade. So I'm not sure which one I'm going to trade. I'm kind of leaning towards the MES. Okay, but these contracts, I mean these cycles, now this is not the continuous contract, this is the December contract, but look at these cycles, guys and gals. They're really a thing of beauty here for the VIX. Okay, and I'm going to show you here in a minute the CME group or their calendar of all the expirations. It's just one calendar. I won't take too long. But what I really want to show you on that calendar is going to be that the VIX contracts, the VIXy, or just the VX, the VX futures, they expire this Tuesday, the 19th, I believe. Well, actually, the last trading day is Tuesday. They expire Wednesday morning, which like 9 a.m. They expire at 9 a.m. I think Wednesday morning. That would be Central Standard Time, Texas or Chicago time. So I wouldn't take that gamble and hold on to them that late. And I wouldn't trade the current contract anyway, which I think I think it's October. But I'm not sure. I think the current contract for the VIX is October. But that expires, or the last trading day is Tuesday. Okay, so that's a pretty big day. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because this cycle, let's see if I can get it to play nice here. Yeah, ends on 10/18. Well, guess what? That's basically almost just 1 day shy, but that's Monday's date. That's 1 day shy of the expiration. Now, I kind of tinkered around a little bit with these cycles just to make sure I wasn't trying to get what I wanted and but instead make sure I'm actually putting the cycles as they're really showing up. And I think it's pretty accurate. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. That little candlestick right there looks pretty good. That one's pretty close to that. That one's about maybe a day off. Okay, this one, yep, looks like about 2 days. It looks like it ended a little early, that cycle, but then on the next cycle, it lines pretty much right back up within a day. So I think those cycles are pretty much spot on. And you've got the color coding on here. Green obviously means things are positive. Red means things are negative. And the purple, whatever color you want to use, you can change these colors. But the purple just means it's kind of in neutral and it's a little bit undecided. But clearly we're going down here on the VIX, right? And we're going to see what happens all the way through Tuesday. The Big Daddy on the VIX is showing that it's going to be up on Monday or Tuesday. This for sure. I almost got a guarantee. I don't want to make guarantees, and people get upset with me. People get upset with me on the YouTube channel. You said you guaranteed. Okay, no guarantees. Educational video only. How about that? Educational video only, guys and gals. Okay, trade at your own risk. Okay, I'm not your financial advisor. Okay, but in my opinion, which isn't always right, but the last 6 weeks I've been doing pretty good. I don't always get it right, but often, more times I'm right than not. But in any case, whether I'm right or wrong, the Big Daddy is saying that Monday is going to be an up day, and we'll keep an eye on this because it could be that this was the low, but we might have a Monday Tuesday low kind of thingy, But either way, we're going to wait for confirmation. You can, the Big Daddy is saying we're going up. And right here, guys and gals, look at this beautiful thing on the Stochastic Momentum Index. Okay, it's beginning to look like it wants to cross over. Now look at the VIX. Since we're on the VIX, this is the VIX candlestick version up here, and this is the VIX in a line version. Okay, so we don't really need to look at it, but it is kind of nice to look at it in a line version sometimes, because look how low it is. I mean, it's really kind of near summertime lows. Okay, so there's at least a suggestion that there would be a little pop in the VIX here maybe. It may not last long. I'm not going to try to predict how long it's going to last. Okay, but it looks like there's going to be a little pop here. It might just be for a few days. I don't know. So, you know, alongside trade on the VIX is not necessarily a bad thing. Once we get confirmation, you know, this is looking pretty good right now, looking kind of juicy. Juicy. As they say, Tasty Trade. For those that know about Tasty Trade, you can look them up. They actually were the guys that wrote the TD Ameritrade and TOS platform. They wrote this entire platform. And then they sold it for like $50 million or something to TD Ameritrade. I guess a lot of you don't know the backstory behind that, do you? So let me give you a quick little background, and I'll finish up this video with the calendar and then and maybe one or two other things on the small account. As I want to give you all an update on the ETrade small account, something there just looks like could be happening to help us out on some trades there. But the background on the TOS platform was that the Tasty Trade guys, which if you can go over look at Tasty, I think it's tastytrade.com or something, whatever. Okay, they're pretty good group of guys. They do a lot of options trading. Their big thing is trading options over there, and they do a lot of teaching options. So if you know anything about options, guys, you can check them out. I think it's tastytrade.com or something like that. Okay, but the backstory behind the TOS platform, which is by far the most popular platform in the United States, is the TOS platform. Everybody loves this platform that you're looking at right now in front of you. And for good reason. It's got scripting in it and everything. It's just an amazing platform. So they wrote this, right? They financed and got a team of developers and all that. And they wrote this platform, this amazing platform. Okay, and it's been enhanced over the years, slowly, little by little. But they wrote it, and then TD Ameritrade wanted to buy it from them. And the story goes, and I don't know if this is right, but I think they sold to them for $50 million. Okay, and then they went off and did their own thing. I think they had to wait like a couple years. There was an agreement to not do anything and don't compete with them. And you know how it is. For $50 million, I'm sure they were more than happy to wait for a couple of years, whatever their agreement was. But they waited a couple of years or whatever it was. And then they came out with Tasty Trade. Now Tasty Trade has their own software. Okay. And they actually have their own trading platform. And they have a little clearinghouse they use and all that stuff. I haven't looked at them in a while. That may be something I'll look at in the future. And open up an account with them, because I did have an account with them for a little while, but they weren't quite ready for futures, so I backed off and closed the account. But maybe I'll look at them again in the near future and see how things are going with them. But yeah, that's the backstory behind TD Ameritrade acquiring this software, guys. Pretty cool story, right? How many of you out there like to make $50 million? Well, you got to go write some really cool software first, which, by the way, that's my background. And I guess I'll let the cat out of the bag. I have something that's, oh man, I don't even know how to say this, but it's probably in some ways the most secretive cycle ever. It is the most revealing cycle ever. It's cyclical. It's extremely powerful, and I don't know how I'm going to present that, or I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet, because it's just so amazing. It's crazy. It's a very long-term cycle that's extremely powerful, and I gotta think it over, but I'll present that at some time in one form or another. But I think it's gonna blow the minds of a lot of people. It's just extremely powerful. But we'll get into that in the future. Just gonna let the cat out of the bag a little bit on that one. Okay, let's switch over. I want to show you just real quick the CME Group calendar, just to confirm on the expiration date for the VIX, and then we'll switch over to the small account information, and then I might just close up with something real quick. Okay, so hold on a second. Let me get switched over to that. Okay, so here is the calendar, the CBOE, also known as the CME Group, kind of the same thing. Chicago Board, okay, options, whatever. I don't know what the E stands for, I forget. whatever. You can look up the acronym. Chicago Board something something. Okay. This is their futures and commodities calendar. Okay, and the one we're interested in, you can look at this. You can pause your screen and look at this, and just an amazing calendar of all the things that they run through their different exchanges, right? But the one we're interested in is right here, October 19th, that one. Okay, that's the last trading day right there for. And I know it's in yellow, kind of hard to see, but the last says right here, the last day to trade expiring volatility index options, VIX futures, stop trading at 9 a.m. in the morning. Oh, it's Eastern Standard Time. Sorry, guys. It's Eastern Standard Time, not Central Standard Time, on their final settlement date. So their settlement date is Wednesday, the next day after, the 20th, because it says right here, VX and VXM. As I said earlier, the VXM would be the E-mini futures for the VIX. And the settlement date's right there on the 20th, October 20th. But the last trade date's really the 19th. So, I don't mess around. I don't trade. I'm not going to be trading the October future contracts anyway. But for those that just want to know, usually the last trading date for the VIX will always be, almost always, there are a few exceptions, will almost always be the third Tuesday of the month. Okay? So if you look at this calendar, you see third Tuesday of the month. Over here in November, it's going to be the 16th, third Tuesday of the month. Right, 1, 2, 3. December, third Tuesday of the month, 21st, and on and on and on. There's occasionally an exception depending on how the Wednesday lands, but almost always it's the third Tuesday of the month. So if you want to know, guys, just type in your favorite search engine, CBOE Futures Calendar or CME Futures Calendar, and you'll find it. You just got to hunt around for the link. Okay, so that's that. Okay, let's switch over to the small account. I want to talk about that real quick. Okay, so this is just the ETrade website, and I just have the browser kind of in full screen mode. And I was hunting around on their website trying to find out about, well, how much money do you need? How is money handled in futures accounts? And they say understand initial margin. Okay, for those who don't know what initial margin is, you can just go basically look it up. But that's the initial amount of money you're going to need in your account in either cash and or assets if you're going to trade futures. Okay. And every futures product, guys and gals, has their own initial margin amount. Okay. It's not like stock. Okay. Futures is more complex. And maybe I think I have a 3-part series on futures, and I'll put that in the link in the description below this video. You can go look at the 3-part video series 1, 2, and 3, and I talk about that in those videos. Okay, just kind of the basics to get you going in futures if you don't know about futures. Okay, but one of the things that's really, really important is understanding initial margin. Okay, and that's basically how much money and or assets you're going to need to trade one contract. Okay, and you multiply the initial margin by the number of contracts you're going to trade to get your initial margin. That's based on how much money you would need to trade that if you're going to hold those accounts overnight. Okay, and I always just calculate an initial margin. You can calculate your intraday amounts depending on your broker. They'll give you a big break during the day. But I don't do that personally because I don't occasionally I do hold contracts overnight. So actually more than occasionally, especially on swing trades, I hold them. So I don't even mess around with the intraday margin amounts. I don't calculate them because it's too risky for me personally. Okay, so anyway, let's read this. Initial margin, which is set by the exchange. So that's set by we just looked at the exchange, right? The CBOE or the CME group. They set the initial margin for most of the futures products. There are some that are set by ICE and a few others, okay? But the ones I trade are almost all going to be the CME group, okay? And they set the initial margin amounts for those products, okay? So that's what they mean by initial margin, which is set by the exchange. CME group is the exchange. Is the amount of cash you need to have. You could use assets there too. The brokers usually allow you to use assets as much as cash, depending on the type of asset you have in there. The amount of cash you need to have in your futures account to open up a long or short position for one futures contract. Okay, for those that don't know, your futures account will always be separate from your main brokerage account. They have to do that by law. Okay, but they're almost always linked. Okay, so it's important to note that it's the same amount whether you plan to buy or sell one contract. That's right. That's a beautiful thing. I'm not going to get into all this now. Again, watch the 3-part series in the description below this video to talk about the benefits of trading futures. Long or short makes no difference on margin. That's why I love futures. Oh my gosh, it's just the perfect thing to be trading. Okay, you're probably already familiar with the use of margin in the equities stock market, where you borrow money to purchase additional securities. However, in the futures market, you don't actually borrow funds to carry or trade the position. That's pretty cool, right? All right. So, just looking at this, I'm kind of getting the sense that, and there's more there. Understand mark to market. I'm not going to get into that now. I'll talk about that in the other. Okay. So it kind of looks like to me that what they're suggesting for ETrade is, and I won't know until we get the money in there and get it funded and try to trade something, but they're at least suggesting here that as long as you have enough money to cover that initial margin, you can trade the futures. Now, normally most brokers are going to say, no, to trade futures, you need $2,000, you need $2,500, usually somewhere in that area. So we're just going to see what ETrade does. What I'm hoping is this, guys and gals. I'm hoping this. I hope the $1,000 that's going to open up that we have for that small account, that a lot of people are going to follow me along on that ETrade account. Okay, I'll still trade the big account, guys, so no worries there. But for those who are going to follow me on the small account, what I'm hoping is that we can trade with $1,000 on some of the futures products that have really small initial margin. And those would normally be reserved for things like a few of the currency futures. So, for instance, like the Canadian dollar, there's a futures product on the Canadian dollar. It's also true for the Aussie dollar and a few other currencies that are really super low initial margin. I'm talking like $170 for one contract. So that would be really cool, because if that's true, we could trade like 3 or 4 contracts and just consume like maybe half of the $1,000 and just don't trade the other half and just keep it there, to kind of cover our butts, so to speak. Give yourself some cushion in case things work against you. Okay, or I might just do 1 or 2 contracts just to get this account going. So I don't know yet what they're going to do. We're going to see how that goes. And the other one we could trade is occasionally we could trade some of the grains, like corn, E-mini corn, I think, is, and maybe a couple of the other grains. I can't remember. There's soybeans, there's wheat, and there's a few others. But 1 or 2 of them are really cheap. Okay. But we may be reserved just to those 2 type of, the grains is basically a soft or a commodity, and then you got the foreign exchange. But in this case, we're not going to be trading FX, or we're going to be trading the futures on the FX. Okay, so pretty cool. So I'm hoping that's what we're going to get. So that's just a little update on the ETrade account, the small account. I'm hoping that's what we're going to get. That would be cool if we can come busting out of the gate. Okay. You like that phrase, busting out of the gate? That's how we talk in Texas. We can come busting out of the gate. Okay? Buck and Bronco style, busting out of the gate. A lot of you have never even been to a rodeo, am I right? A lot of you have never even been to a rodeo. I bet none of you, y'all need to get, man, come take a trip to Texas, okay? I'll show you around. Maybe we can show you around to one of these rodeos, okay? Yeah. As we come busting out of the gate, I'm hoping we can trade futures right from the start. That'd be cool, because that would be a little bit more profitable, even potentially a lot more profitable on trading futures than having to do a swing trade on stocks or one of the equity indexes that are going to be kind of like, slow, a little bit slower going. So that's update on the small account. Okay, last thing I want to talk about. Let me switch over to one more thing. Okay, so on this one, guys, the ES, the E-mini S&P 500. Okay. I got my big fat crayon line here, which I'll have to figure out how to fix that. I did something, but anyway, I'll take care of that once the video's over. But anyway, what I'm looking at here, guys, is this cycle right here, okay? And just like the VIX, guys, I'm not convinced that this cycle's over. There's some thought that, I won't get into too much detail, but there's some thought that the cycle bottom, that this cycle here extended all the way out to there. There's some talk about that, and that's fine. That could be accurate. It's possible. But I'm not convinced that this cycle's over yet. So we're just going to see. Okay? We have to wait to kind of see what this does going through this week. Are we going to get a drop here? We probably will. I don't know if we're going to get an update and then some down. Okay, I'm not sure what we're going to get here. But I think there's going to be some downward pressure here. Even though right now the S&P 500 is not showing that. You can look right here that that is still showing, and even the VIX, though when we looked at the VIX, it's telling a different story. So it's interesting. The VIX is a little bit ahead of the S&P 500, right? But at least here on the S&P 500, it's showing that these indicators, the Big Daddy and the Stochastic Momentum Index, they're not even pointing anything far as going down. So we got to respect that. Okay. So I'm going to wait. Here's the word of the day, confirmation. Okay. That's the word of the day, confirmation. What do I mean by that? Well, exactly what I just talked about. We're going to wait to see what these two guys do, along with the VIX. I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on the VIX plus these indicators on the S&P 500, and of course the candlesticks themselves. And I'm going to keep a close eye on that because I do want to trade the S&P 500. I think I'm leaning towards that instead of the VIX. But I'm kind of like juggling in the air, 3 balls in the air at once here, because I'll trade the VIX in a hot second. If the VIX shows that it's the tradable product, and then I may have to trade 1 or 2 less contracts, but I'll do it if it looks extremely tradable, and it's looking more tradable than the S&P 500. So I'm just kind of putting it out there. I don't know which one I'm going to trade yet. It's either going to be probably the E-mini S&P 500 or the E-mini VIX. One of those two I'm going to trade. I'd like to trade the S&P 500, the E-mini one, because like I said earlier, I get more leverage. I have more margin, because there's less initial margin. And so I'll be able to pick up more contracts. So that's still kind of up there. Those are 2 things I got going on my plate, guys, as we move into tonight and tomorrow. I'm waiting for confirmation. We do not have confirmation, right? This thing is not rolled over. It's still going up. But it's feeling kind of toppy. And the VIX is feeling very much near the bottom. So I'm reluctant to take a trade right now. I definitely don't want to take a trade up in this area. Okay, if the S&P 500 kind of like stalls a little bit and then shoots to the moon, then yeah, I'll probably jump in. But I got a feeling that's not going to happen. But either way, I'll trade whatever the market's going to give me. So that's what I got going on, guys. I'm waiting for confirmation. These indicators right now are still showing positive, and I have no problem trading positive. But here's the thing. I have no problem trading long. But if I was going to trade long, it would have been back down there, right? Sorry about that big, huge crayon. But it would have been down here at the bottom. Not up here. Not going to trade long up in here. It's crazy. Okay, if I was going to trade long, I would have traded on that little dip right there and definitely down there, right? So I don't feel like taking a long trade way up here where the Big Daddy's kind of getting toppy-ish. Okay, the stochastic momentum, of course, is a little bit always late to the game, and that's good. It helps us out with confirmation. But the VIX, look at the VIX, very low. We had looked at the VIX earlier. All right. Okay, guys, gals, that's it. I know the video's getting a little bit long. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, go ahead and click subscribe. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to click the little thumbs up. I also appreciate that. And the little bell so you get notified as the videos I put them out. We'll talk to you all real soon again next time.